still have a 38-year friendship relationship, and we always will have. We understand each other. I like to think, I guess I'm kind of gloating about it, but I like to think that I know Barry Bonds better than a lot of people. Some 40 years before with the Tigers, I finally got to Detroit in 2006. It took a long time. When I got there, I had a reunion with Dave Dombrowski, one of baseball's great GMs in any era, Al Avila and David Chad, and it was a great reunion.
He's F. Seeking useless was the kind of thing angry Tigers fans wanted Jim Leyland to say, but he almost never did. The fans saw players slump. They saw rallies die. They saw leads vanish in the worst moments. And they wanted someone blamed. But Leyland kept protecting his guys. He kept defending them in public, no matter what. That gap between his loyalty and the fans' anger is where this whole story lives. I am Mason, and this is Baseball Icons. Detroit fans still know this feeling in 2026. A team looks close, the roster has talent, then injuries hit, the bullpen breaks down, weak bats go cold, and fans ask the same painful question: who let Detroit down? And if you know that feeling, give this video some hype right now, because Tigers fans lived this pain for years, and the Leyland era might be the best example of it. Here is the truth that makes it hurt. Jim Leyland rebuilt Detroit. He took a losing team and made it matter again. He earned respect because he protected his clubhouse and treated his players like men. But that same loyalty had a cost. It kept struggling players in big moments too long. It let the same weaknesses show up again and again. From 2006 to 2013, the Tigers were built to win a World Series. They had the talent, they had the arms, and still, certain players failed in ways that fans never forgot. So this is not Leyland calling anyone useless. This is the pain that fans felt while he kept the blame off his men. Because that is the cruel part of his loyalty. When a manager protects everyone, no single name ever gets the heat. And when no name gets the heat, the same failures come back. Fans could not point to a public scapegoat, so they made their own list. These are the 7 names on it. And we are going to count them down, from 7 all the way to 1. But first you have to understand what kind of manager Leyland really was, because it changes everything about this story. He demanded accountability, but he did it behind closed doors. He hated public embarrassment. He believed that calling out a player in front of the cameras would crack the team apart. So he carried the heat himself, again and again. A lot of people think Leyland was a fiery, screaming boss. They point to his famous fight with Barry Bonds back in 1991, during spring training in Pittsburgh. But look closer at that moment. It was not about a player failing on the field. It started because Bonds was mistreating the team's public relations staff and the coaches. It was about respect, not performance. And years later, Leyland said he regretted how public it got. His real style was built on mutual respect. He treated players like grown men. He kept clubhouse problems private. That was the heart of who he was as a manager. He carried regret about the Bonds blow-up for years because it went against everything he believed in. He did not want to be the boss who humiliated a man in front of the world. He wanted to handle it man-to-man, in a quiet room, with the door closed. That choice shaped his whole career. And it shaped how Detroit fans would feel for 8 long years. He showed it right away in Detroit. Look at April 17, 2006. The Tigers got crushed at home by Cleveland, 10-2. The crowd was angry, the team looked dead, and this mattered, because Detroit had been losing for 12 straight seasons. That old losing feeling was creeping back into the building. So Leyland walked into his press conference and exploded. He used rough language. He said the team stunk. But here is the key part. He did not blame one player. He blamed everyone. He blamed the players, the coaches, and himself. His own closer, Todd Jones, explained it perfectly. He said Leyland did not lose it for his own fun. He did it on purpose, to send a clear message. Mediocrity was over, and notice what he did while sending that message. He still protected his young roster from being singled out and attacked in the papers. That tirade became famous. People still call it the moment that turned the Tigers around, the spark that woke a sleeping team up. And that same 2006 team went all the way to the World Series that fall. So the strategy worked. The blow-up did its job. But here is the catch that matters for our story. He aimed that fire at the whole group, never at one man. He would scream at everyone before he would embarrass anyone. Remember that, because it is the exact reason the fans never got the public blame they craved later on. You saw the same thing on June 2nd, 2010. Armando Galarraga was 1 out away from a perfect game. A perfect game is one of the rarest things in all of baseball. Then the umpire, Jim Joyce, blew the call at first base. He called the runner safe when everyone could see he was out. The perfect game was gone, just like that. The whole stadium boiled over. Leyland argued hard on the field. He had every right to be furious. But after the game, he calmed it all down. He reminded everyone that players are human, umpires are human, and managers are human. He stopped his own team from going after the umpire in public, and the next day there was a quiet reconciliation between Galarraga and Joyce that made the whole organization look classy. Even the commissioner, Bud Selig, praised how it was handled. And here is one more story that tells you everything. On May 13, 2009, an umpire named Paul Schreiber actually pushed Maglio Ordonez during a heated argument over a strikeout. The umpire put his hands on the player, and Leyland sprinted out of that dugout. He put himself right between his player and the umpire. He took on the risk of being thrown out of the game. Then, after it was over, he downplayed the contact to the media. Why? To keep his player from getting suspended by the league. He took the bullet so Ordonez would not have to. His own center fielder, Austin Jackson, said it best. He said Leyland let his players do their jobs and treated them like men. So that is the man, a shield, a protector. And that protection built deep, real trust in the clubhouse. The players loved him for it. But it also handed the fans a problem. When certain players kept failing, that same loyalty made it feel like nobody was ever being held responsible. Think about it from the seat in the stands. You watch a key player fail again. You wait for the manager to send a message, and instead, he stands at the microphone and shields the guy one more time. The respect was real, but so was the frustration. It built up, season after season, until fans started keeping their own private list of who let Detroit down. So let me show you that list now. Number 7 is Gerald Laird. He was brought in for one main reason. He was there to handle the pitching staff. And at that job, he was good. He was a strong defender behind the plate. He was a smart game caller. The pitchers trusted him. He helped them feel settled in big moments. But there was a hole in his game, and it was a big one. Gerald Laird could not hit. At the plate, he was a severe liability. He was close to an automatic out. During the 2009 season, his weak bat dragged down the entire lineup. The bottom of the order kept stalling out whenever it reached him, and here is where it really hurt. In late-season games, with the pressure turned all the way up, that bottom of the order failed to create runs. Those are the exact moments that decide playoff races. A rally would start to build. Then it would die when the lineup turned over to the weak spots. Detroit kept wasting golden chances with a hitter who simply could not deliver. Now, Leyland defended Laird. He defended his game calling. He valued what Laird gave the pitchers every single night. But this is the first version of the same Leyland problem you will hear all night. He trusted a role player for the one thing he did well, even when the thing the player could not do kept hurting the team. The front office finally saw it clearly. In 2011, they handed the everyday catching job to a young Alex Avila. Avila could get on base. He gave the lineup a length and a life that Laird never could. Laird slid into a backup role, and the team still valued him there in 2012. He was never a villain. He was a good defender and a good man. But trust in a glove only goes so far when your lineup keeps dying at the bottom. And that pattern, that trust in one skill while another weakness bleeds you out, is the thread that runs through this entire countdown. Picture a close game in September. 2 outs, a runner in scoring position, the crowd on its feet. And the lineup turns over to a hitter the whole stadium knows cannot drive that run in. You can feel the air go out of the building before the pitch is even thrown. That happened over and over with the bottom of that order. A good catcher who saves runs with his glove is valuable. But baseball is played on both sides of the ball, and a hitter who gives nothing back at the plate slowly drains a contender, one dead at bat at a time. Is Brennan Boesch. This one is a different kind of pain. This one is about hope that faded. In 2010, Boesch arrived with a red-hot start. He came up and he raked. He looked like the next great homegrown outfielder for Detroit, a player they could build around for years. Fans got excited. They started to dream on him. He looked like a real answer, a young bat to grow with the stars. But over the next 2 seasons, the magic just vanished. His bat became wildly up and down. He would look great for a week, then fall off a cliff. He went through long, brutal cold streaks. And in 2012, during a real pennant race, his bat went completely cold at the worst possible time. He left a giant hole in the bottom of the order during the exact stretch when every single at-bat mattered. Now here is where Leyland's loyalty came in again, just in a new form. He kept running Boesch out there. He resisted sitting him down. He resisted platooning him too hard. He believed that steady, regular playing time would let Boesch fix his swing against major league pitching. That comes from a good place. That is a patient, caring manager who believes in his guy. But it was also a very costly bet. Because when a team is trying to win right now, today, this season, hoping a young player figures it out is not a plan. It is a wish. And the slumps did not break in time. Boesch was not a bad guy and not a villain. He was the danger of waiting too long on promise, while the wins slipped away. And this frustration cut in its own way. Laird's weakness was known from day one. Boesch's weakness was worse to watch, because he teased everyone first. He showed fans exactly what he could be. Then he took it away. Hope that turns cold is harder to watch than a flaw you already expected. Every time he stepped up in 2012, fans remembered the player from 2010, and they kept waiting for him to come back. He never quite did, and that waiting is its own special torture. Leyland's patience asked the fans to be patient too. It asked them to keep believing through the cold streaks, to keep trusting that the hot start was the real Boesch and the slumps were the fake one. But in a pennant race, every game you give to a struggling young player is a game you might be throwing away. Hope is a beautiful thing in April. In the middle of a September race, hope without results is just a hole in your lineup. And that hole sat there, game after game, while the wins the team needed kept slipping through their fingers. Number 5 is Delmon Young, and this one is confusing, because he gave Detroit some unforgettable highs. Young came over in 2011 with a clear job. He was there to protect Miguel Cabrera in the middle of the order, and when October came, he delivered in a huge way. He hit massive postseason home runs that fans still talk about today. He became a real part of Tigers' playoff lore. In those big moments, he was a hero. But the daily grind told a completely different story. In the long regular season, Young was a real problem. He had almost no range in left field. He was a serious defensive liability out there, costing the team on plays a better outfielder would make. And at the plate, he went through long droughts. His lack of plate discipline stalled the bottom half of the lineup for stretches at a time. Then, in April 2012, things got even harder. An off-field arrest in New York threatened to pull the team's focus away from baseball. It became a distraction the club did not need. And Leyland handled it the way he handled everything else. He shielded Young. He moved him mostly to designated hitter to hide the bad defense and keep him off the field. He carefully managed his spot in the lineup to protect him and to squeeze out his raw power. And in flashes, it worked. But flashes are not the same as steady, daily winning. And that is the new frustration here, different from the others. The other names mostly just struggled. Young split the fan base right down the middle. Half of them remembered the October home runs and forgave him everything. The other half remembered the missed plays in left field and the dead stretches at the plate. He was a hero and a headache in the very same jersey. Leyland chose to protect the hero and hide the headache at DH. But the holes were still there, every single day, for all 162 games. And that is the trap of the big moment. A few unforgettable home runs in October can paper over months of struggle in the memory. Fans replay the highlights and forget the rest. But a baseball season is not made of highlights. It is made of those quiet, daily games in June and July, the ones nobody makes a video about, where a weak glove and a cold bat slowly cost you in the standings. Young gave Detroit fireworks when the lights were brightest. Then he left the team to clean up the mess on all the ordinary nights in between. That mix of dazzling and damaging is what made him so hard to judge and so frustrating to watch. Number 4 is Edgar Renteria. He was supposed to be the missing piece. He was supposed to be the answer. After a disappointing finish in 2007, the front office decided to make a bold move. General manager Dave Dombrowski traded for shortstop Edgar Renteria before the 2008 season. And on paper, it looked brilliant. Renteria was a respected veteran. He was a 5-time All-Star. He had the experience, the pedigree, the resume of a winner. He looked like exactly the kind of proven star who pushes a good team over the top and into a championship. The 2008 Tigers were expected to contend for it all. The hype was real. Instead, The whole thing collapsed. The 2008 Tigers became one of the most disappointing rosters in the entire history of the franchise. They finished dead last in the American League Central with a record of 74-88. A team built to win finished at the very bottom, and Renteria was a big part of that crash. He fell apart at the plate, suffering a steep offensive regression, and his glove failed him too, with a sudden, sharp decline in his defensive range at shortstop. The savior turned into a symbol of the slump. Now, to be fair, Leyland did not hang the whole season on Renteria. He treated 2008 as a full-team failure, and he absorbed the criticism on behalf of the entire organization, just like always. But the lesson here was bigger than one player. This was a warning. A big name does not fix a broken balance. You can add a famous, proven veteran and still finish in last place if the rest of the roster is out of whack. Renteria was the living proof of that, and the disappointment stuck to him anyway. And this frustration was special. The others were homegrown players or young projects. Renteria was the splashy fix, the proven star traded in to win immediately. When a role player slumps, fans sigh and move on. When the savior slumps, fans feel cheated. The entire point of trading for him was to skip the risk and grab a sure thing. Instead, the risk swallowed the whole season. A last-place finish with a 5-time All-Star at shortstop is a special and bitter kind of letdown, and it taught the whole organization a lesson it would learn again and again. You cannot simply buy or trade your way out of a flaw. A roster is a balance. If your defense is shaky and your bullpen is thin, adding one more famous bat does not fix the real problem. It just hides it for a few months until the cracks open back up. Renteria came in as the headline name, the proof that management was going for it. And when he fell flat, he became the headline name of the failure instead. That is the danger of the splashy move. The bigger the name, the harder the fall, and the longer the disappointment lingers in the memory of the fans. Number 3 is Jose Valverde. This is the most painful bullpen letdown of them all. To understand the fall, you have to remember the peak. In 2011, Jose Valverde was perfect. Listen to that word, perfect. He converted all 49 of his save chances that season. Every single one. The 9th inning felt completely locked. He was a wall. When he jogged in from the bullpen, the game was over. Fans could exhale. They felt safe. That feeling of safety in the 9th inning is one of the best feelings in all of baseball. But then it started to slip. The velocity dropped, the command got shaky, and in 2012 and 2013, that wonderful safe feeling turned into pure, knotted stress. His struggles built up to a true disaster in the 2012 postseason. He suffered a crushing blown save in Game 1 of the Elks against Oakland. It was so bad, so damaging, that Leyland actually had to pull him out of the high-pressure spots for a while. And that is a massive thing for a manager who absolutely hated doing it. Because here is the heart of the whole problem. Leyland flatly refused to run a closer by committee. He believed deeply in having one single, named closer. He felt a set closer gave the bullpen order and structure. He felt it protected him from endless second-guessing by the media after every loss. He felt it gave his relievers a sense of security, so everyone knew their role. But that belief became a trap. Leyland kept seeing the perfect closer from 2011. The fans, meanwhile, saw the broken pitcher of 2012 right in front of them, and the rigid system left Detroit exposed every time Valverde's physical tools failed him. Say it as simply as you can. The 9th inning stopped feeling safe. And for a team trying to win a title, a shaky 9th inning is a knife straight to the heart. That is why Valverde hurt the worst of anyone. He failed in the exact spot where failure is final. There is no coming back from a blown save in the 9th. A hitter can fail in the 5th inning, and the team can still rally and win. A closer fails at the very end, when there is no time and no outs left to fix it. The lead was right there, the win was right there, and then it was gone, with the entire season hanging on it. Think about what that does to a fan base. After 2011, the 9th inning was the safest part of the night. By 2013, the 9th inning was the scariest. The very same player, the very same role, flipped from a comfort into a nightmare. And Leyland kept sending him back out, because in his mind, the perfect closer from 2011 was still in there somewhere. That is loyalty. That is also the danger of loyalty. A manager who lives in the past will keep handing the ball to the pitcher his guy used to be, instead of the pitcher he has become. Fans could see the difference with their own eyes. The fastball was slower. The command was gone. The swagger was fading. But the role stayed the same because the role was sacred to Leyland. And every shaky ninth inning chipped away a little more at the trust between a team and its closer. Number 2 is Brandon Inge. And this one stings in a way the others do not, because fans truly, deeply loved this man. Brandon Inge was a franchise icon. He was a Tiger through and through. His defense at third base was excellent, some of the best in the game. He was a true cornerstone of the team's run prevention. He was woven into the identity of those Tigers teams. People loved his energy and his loyalty to the city. But the game around him was changing fast. The Tigers were transforming into a high-scoring lineup, built around huge stars like Miguel Cabrera and Prince Fielder. And in that powerful new lineup, Inge's bat became a glaring weakness. His offense declined badly. In 2009, after the month of May, his hitting fell right off a cliff. He hit around .215 for the rest of that season. .215. In a lineup full of thunder, he became an easy out. Then came the moment that fans remember most. The 2009 AL Central tiebreaker against the Minnesota Twins. It was a single, winner-take-all game. The whole season came down to one night, and Inge failed in the biggest spots of that night. He came up in the 8th inning with 2 runners on base, a chance to be the hero, and he did not deliver. Then he struck out in a crucial 12th inning. And through all of it, Leyland would not pinch hit for him. He had better bats sitting right there on the bench, hitters like Aubrey Huff or Cleet Thomas. He chose Inge anyway. He chose Inge's glove and his leadership over a better chance to actually score a run. That decision drew sharp criticism. And here is the heartbreak of it. Fans respected the man. They loved him. But respect does not make a bat dangerous. In playoff-style baseball, one weak spot in the lineup can end an entire season. This is a different ache than all the others. With a Raburn or a Boesch, fans wanted them gone. With Inge, fans did not want him gone at all. They were rooting hard for him. They just wished, so badly, that he could still hit. That is the hardest kind of frustration there is, the kind you feel for a player you love. You want him to come through more than anything. And in the single biggest game of 2009, he just could not. That tiebreaker loss is a wound that never fully closed for Detroit. One game, winner take all, the whole summer riding on it. And the team's beloved third baseman came up small in the moments that mattered most, while the manager who loved him refused to make a change. You can understand both sides completely. Leyland trusted Inge's glove and his leadership in the field, and those things are real. But on that night, the team needed runs, not a great defensive play. They needed a bat, and the bat was not there, and a better bat sat on the bench unused. That is the cruel math of October-style baseball. It does not care how much you love a player. It does not care about loyalty or history or what a man means to a city. It only asks one question in the biggest moment. Can you produce right now? And too often, in those exact moments, the answer was no. Number 1 is Ryan Raburn. He sits at the very top of this list, and for good reason. He is the clearest, purest symbol of Leyland's stubborn trust. Now, Raburn had real ability. He had genuine power when he got hot. He could play several different positions, which made him useful on paper. A manager loves a guy who can do a little of everything. But the reality on the field slowly wore the fans down. He had long, ugly slumps that seemed to last forever. He made defensive mistakes all over the field, across every position he played. He had mental lapses out there, the kind of mistakes that make a fan groan. And in 2012, his bat completely cratered. It did not just dip, it collapsed. It stopped working almost entirely. Fans grew sick of seeing his name written in the lineup, day after day after day. And here is the thing. They could see it plainly. The numbers were right there in black and white. The bat was dead. So why did he keep playing? Because Leyland trusted his gut. He played Raburn on hunches and on feelings about the matchups. He kept defending him in public every time he was asked. And that, right there, is exactly what made the fan anger so loud and so sharp. Raburn did not just struggle quietly in the corner. He became the public face of a manager who would not see what everyone else in the building could see so clearly. Every time Leyland wrote that name down on the lineup card while the bat was stone cold, the frustration grew a little louder. And let me be clear about something important. This was not hate. Leyland never trashed Ryan Raburn. He never called him out. He defended him. And that defending is the very thing that turned a slumping role player into a lightning rod for an entire fan base. That is why he is number 1. He was not the worst player Detroit ever had, not even close. He was the purest example of the whole problem. Every fan in that stadium could see the bat was dead. The numbers screamed it from the page. And still the name went into the lineup, on a feeling, on a hunch. Raburn became living proof that loyalty, when you push it too far, stops looking like strength and starts looking like blindness. And that is the heartbreak of the whole Leyland story, captured in one player. The very thing that made him a great leader of men, his unshakable faith in his guys, was the same thing that drove the fans crazy. They were not angry that Leyland believed in people. They were angry that he believed in them past the point where the evidence ran out. A gut feeling is a wonderful thing when it works. When it stops working, and you keep trusting it anyway, it turns into stubbornness. Raburn in 2012 was the moment that line got crossed in the eyes of the fans. The numbers said one thing, loud and clear. The manager's gut said another, and night after night the manager's gut won the argument, while the team paid the price on the field. But here is the honest part, the part you need to hear. These 7 players were not the only reason Detroit fell short of a title. Not even close. The bigger problem was the shape of the whole roster. The Tigers had elite starting pitching, some of the best arms in all of baseball, Cy Young level talent. They had huge bats in the middle of the order that could change a game with one swing. But their defensive range was weak, their bullpen depth was thin. The team was top-heavy. Dave Dombrowski kept building rosters loaded with starting pitching and power hitting, but he kept neglecting the glove work and the back end of the bullpen. And Leyland's old-school style made those cracks even worse. He loved fixed roles. He trusted veterans over younger options. On February 24, 2014, just months after Leyland stepped down, the front office signed exactly 7 players to one-year contracts to set up the next era under the new manager, Brad Ausmus. That group of 7 was the bridge from the Leyland years to whatever came next. It included a young left-hander Drew Smyly moving from the bullpen into the rotation, and the top prospect Nick Castellanos, who was handed third base after the team traded away Prince Fielder. Even the way the era ended came down to 7 names and a roster trying to fill the holes that were left behind. The story of letting Detroit down and the haunting number 7 has always been part of this franchise, and it follows the team right into today. In the modern era, under manager A.J. Hinch, the Tigers have faced the very same frustrations. In June 2026, the team's playoff hopes were badly damaged by a brutal pitching crisis. Exactly 7 key pitchers landed on the extended injured list at the same time. 7 arms, all gone at once, including names like Jackson Jobe, Reese Olson, and Alex Cobb. It forced the front office to scramble with waiver claims and minor league call-ups just to fill out a staff. And on top of the injuries, fans grew furious with 3 big-name underperformers. Starting pitcher Jack Flaherty struggled badly with a high ERA and piled up losses. Veteran closer Kenley Jansen blew save after save with an ERA over 5. And the former number 1 overall draft pick, Spencer Torkelson, saw his bat stall out while his defense regressed at first base. Fans demanded the team get rid of all 3. Listen to that and tell me it does not sound familiar. Injuries, a shaky bullpen, and big names who failed when the team needed them. The exact same pain, just with new uniforms and new faces. Detroit has been living this cycle for over 100 years. So how does the modern team handle it differently than Leyland did? The contrast says a lot. Leyland was relationship-driven all the way through. He leaned on personal bonds, on loyalty, and on clubhouse order. To Leyland, a slumping player was a human being to support and work with, not a number to cut loose. A.J. Hinch is far more analytical. He leans on data, on matchups, on spin rates and defensive numbers, and on fast, clinical adjustments. Modern teams use platoons and quick roster moves to fix problems before they sink a season. Leyland would give a struggling veteran weeks to work it out. Modern baseball gives him a much shorter leash. And both styles carry a real price. Leyland's huge heart made his players love him and play hard for him. But that same patience could quietly hurt the scoreboard when the season was on the line. The modern way fixes more problems faster, but it can lose the human warmth and the deep loyalty that made guys run through a wall for Leyland. So let me be fair to him here at the end, because he truly earned it. Jim Leyland deserves real, lasting respect. He changed Detroit. He took a losing culture, a city that had not seen winning baseball in over a decade, and he built a true contender out of it. He made the Tigers matter again. He protected his players in a way that so many managers never would. taking the heat himself so they could just focus on the game. He gave them dignity in public and honest, direct accountability in private. That is exactly why they loved playing for him, and why so many of them speak about him the way they do. And his place in the game is secure forever. He reached the National Baseball Hall of Fame, the highest honor a baseball man can get. The Tigers retired his number 10 at Comerica Park, hanging it up where it will stay for good. Those honors are real, and they are completely deserved. He was one of the greatest managers in the entire history of the franchise. But the hard truth still sits there, right beside all that respect. Detroit had a real, golden window to win it all. They had the stars in the middle of the order. They had the elite arms in the rotation. They had the belief and the talent and the city behind them. And still, the same names and the same flaws kept showing up at the worst possible times. The dead bat at the bottom of the order. The blown save in the ninth. The fragile bullpen bridge in October. Leyland never once called these players useless in public. He never would. It was not in him. But Detroit fans did not need him to say it out loud. They watched it happen, year after year, slump after slump, October after October. And that pain is the price of all that loyalty. Detroit deserved better than that ending. The talent left the field when the era closed, but the questions never did. They are still asking them today.